Shana Tova, welcome everyone. We are so glad that you've joined us here in our Kol Nidre youth service at Westchester Reformed Temple. I'm Rabbi Daniel Reeser. I'll be joined in the leadership of this evening's service by Ariel Milan Polisar, our rabbinical student intern, and Isaac Sonnet Asor, our cantorial student intern. We'll also have an opportunity to hear words of welcome from Rabbi Blake in just a moment. But before we get too deep into introducing ourselves and too deep into speaking words, why don't we open up our hearts and get ourselves into the spirit of the season by offering these words, which will appear on the screen in front of you. Please join with us.
We return. We return. We return. Return again. We return. We return. We return, return again and again to love. We return again to love. Shana Tova. I'm Rabbi Jonathan Blake. I'm so happy to join you. I see a number of faces of part of our WRT family who has joined us in the Zoom itself. Welcome, Shana Tova, to you, and to all who are joining on our many simulcasting streaming platforms. We wish you a Gemar Chatima Tova, the traditional greeting for Yom Kippur, words that mean, may you be sealed for life and blessing in this new year 5781. Now, I'm going to settle into Yom Kippur, which of course is a holiday that lasts a full 24 hours plus. It's 5 o'clock now. I'm going to be beginning my Yom Kippur fast, refraining from food and drink and all the other things that nourish the body over the next 27 hours or so, probably breaking fast a little after 7 o'clock tomorrow. One of the other beautiful customs for Yom Kippur is that it's the only holiday of the year where a person who has already reached the age of bar bat mitzvah can wear a talit, a prayer shawl, for the entire day, starting at nighttime. Normally prayer shawls, talit is worn only at the morning service, unless of course you're the rabbi or the cantor leading the service, in which case you wear a talit when you're on the bima to show that you're the leader. But on Yom Kippur, all of those distinctions between who's the leader and who's the follower, who's the rabbi and who's the ordinary Jew in the pew, all of those distinctions disappear. So what I want to say to you is that for this holiday, we are all equals. It's true that we rabbis and cantors, we know the words and the melodies, and we are called the leaders because we want to lead you in prayer. But we are no more Jewish than any single one of you, no more connected to our tradition and our community. So the most important participants in this service are you. We're hoping that you won't just view this as a watching experience, looking at a screen, looking at each other going, oh, isn't that nice? I kind of like the prayers they're singing. Oh, look what she's wearing. No, you're the most important participant. So even if we can't hear you, we will know that you are singing along, praying with us, really in the zone. And if you are a person who at one point in your life celebrated bar or bat mitzvah, or are above the age of 13 and would like to wear your talit, you can do so now as I pronounce these blessings and place the talit over my shoulders. Baruch atah Adonai, blessed are you, eternal God, Eloheinu melech haolam, sovereign of all life. Asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav, who makes our lives special through the mitzvot, the sacred commandments of the Jewish tradition, vitzivanu lehitatef batzitzit, and who has instructed us in the ways of wrapping ourselves in the beautiful fabric and especially the beautiful fringes which represent all the commandments, the mitzvot of the Jewish tradition. And we all say, Amen. I hope that you experience not only a fast that is easy and tolerable if you are refraining from food and drink like we are, I hope that your fast is meaningful. The point of Yom Kippur is not to make yourself feel like a big pile of garbage. The point of Yom Kippur is to make yourself realize why life is so precious and so worth living. And I think that this year especially, we all can take an extra moment just to say thank you to God for allowing us to reach this night. And as we do, I want to bless all of you, our WRT family, for keeping us connected during these disconnected times, for keeping yourselves healthy and alive, and even more for protecting others by wearing your masks and keeping your distance and being very careful about how you behave in public. You are actually fulfilling the highest mitzvah of the Jewish tradition, to save life, protect life, and preserve life. So God bless you for all of the life-saving work that every single one of you have been doing. Shana Tova.
Shana Tova. Thank you, Rabbi Blake. We're so glad that you're able to join us here for this service. And let me say to anyone who's here in the Zoom room with us that if you'd like to turn your video on so that you can be seen by us and by other WRT congregants who are here in the Zoom room, you are encouraged to do so, and know that your faces won't be broadcasting out onto any of our streaming services. You'll only be seen by those who are in this space. So you can both be seen without being broadcast out into the world if you'd like to do that. We hope that you feel comfortable to do so. If you have candles near you that you would like to kindle to welcome the beginning of the Yom Kippur holiday, then I invite you now to please join with me in lighting them and offering these words of blessing. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav, vitzivanu lahadlik ner shel Yom HaKippurim. Praised are you, our eternal God, who makes our lives holy through commandments and commands us to light these lights, welcoming this day of atonement. Amen.
This time we will sing together to bring in Yom Kippur the words of Shehechianu, that we are all together on this day and that we have been sustained for another full year of life. Please sing together with me. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, shehechianu v'kimanu v'hihanu lazman hazeh. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, At this time in our service, we will sing the words of Kol Nidre. This is the text that gives our service this evening its own name. This text is not so much a prayer, but more like the long, complicated legal writing that you might skip over and click I accept when you download an app. It's not even written in Hebrew. It's written in a language called Aramaic, which was the ancient Jews' spoken language when only holy words could be written in Hebrew. These words give us a free pass on all promises between now and next Yom Kippur. They say, if I fail to keep my promises, well, it wasn't really a promise to begin with. Can you imagine for a second if you said that to your parent, or your sister, or your friend, or your teacher? How do you think they would respond? Here is one way of thinking about it. On Rosh Ha-Shanah and on Yom Kippur, as a community, we've said all sorts of promises about the ways that we'll try to be better people next year. But we can't possibly reach all of those goals in 1 year. They might take 5 years or 10 years. They might take an entire lifetime. So we can consider Kol Nidre the fine print on our promises to ourselves, to one another, to God. The fine print that says, I really want to learn to be more patient, or more sharing, or a better listener. But I'm only human, so I'm sorry in advance if I fall back into an old habit. The most important thing is that we notice when we break our promises so that we can put even more energy and focus into keeping them in the future. Even though we can't be perfect, the promise is still real. And so, as we hear the words of this fine print, it's very important that we have witnesses who can confirm it's okay for us to make mistakes as we try to become better versions of ourselves. For this important honor, we call up the Dembitzer family, Leah, David, Lucas, Noah, and Sloan. And to show us just how important it is that we are allowed to make these mistakes, they will witness our non-promise while holding their family's own Torah scroll. ושרי וחרמי וקונמי וכינויי וכינוסי ושבועות דין דרנה ודאיש תפנה ודאחרים נא ודסרנה על נפשת מיום כיפורים זה עד יום כיפורים הבא עלינו לטובה כול הון יראת נא והון כול הון יהון שרן שריתין שריתין בטלין ומבוטלין לשרירין ולקיימים נדרנה לנדרי ושרנה לשרי ושבועתנה לשבועות.
We will do our best to keep our every promise, to fulfill every good intention and every resolution that we make during the year that has just begun, from this Day of Atonement to the next. But if there are promises we truly cannot keep, however hard we try, we pray that we may be forgiven. I'd like to thank the Dembitzer family for honoring us by presenting their family's Torah scroll as we chanted these sacred words. Please continue with us in the words on the screen in front of us with our call to prayer, Baruch Hu.
So our next prayer, the Ahavat Olam prayer, is about God's love for us and God's love for us in giving us Torah. And there are many ways in which we show the people we love that we love them. You might give someone a hug who you love. You might give them a gift. You might tell them you love them. You might make food for them. All of these are ways in which we show love for one another. So I'm going to ask you now, if you're in the Zoom with us, to write in the chat one way in which you show people you love that you love them. And if you are not in the Zoom with us, you can turn to somebody who you're sitting with and maybe share that answer with them. What are some ways in which you show the people you love that you love them? I see hugs. That's a great one. Yeah, hugs are definitely my love language as well. I see doing the dishes. Kisses are also good ones. I hope that these hugs and kisses are with people that we are quarantined with. Although I do have to say that hugging the people I love is one of the things that I miss about pre-COVID times. Kind words is another great one. Cleaning up. Interest in their day, asking how their day was. That's a really lovely one. I like that one. Wonderful. So please keep thinking about this and talking about this with your family as we offer, or as Isaac offers, I should say, the Chatima, the end of this prayer, thanking God for God's love of us, the people Israel.
Baruch atah Adonai, ohev amo Yisrael. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Leolam Vaed. Please join me in chanting the Ve'ahavta. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha bechol levavecha uvechol nafshecha uvechol meodecha. והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך. למען תזכרו, ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם. We continue with our people's song of freedom, sung to our special high holiday melody. Please join me. מי כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נהדר בקודש, נורא דהילות אוסף פלא. מי כמוך באלים
following along with the prayers on the screen, you may have seen some images that look like they've been created by young people. And the reason is that many of the images that we've been using in this visual tefillah have been created by members of our own Jewish Learning Lab. So if you recognize a photo that it looks like you may have taken, it's because you very well may have. The prayer that we're about to offer was not created by young people, but rather was created by our very own Isaac Sanadasor, our cantorial intern. Please join with us in offering this prayer, Hashkivenu, which asks God to help us lie down at night peacefully and to wake up in the morning refreshed, renewed, and restored to life.
In just a moment, we're going to move into our Amidah, one of the centerpieces of our service. And as we pray, as we offer this prayer together, take a look at this question that we have on our screen. What special traits or lessons have you received from your family members? And we invite you to think about this question as we go through our prayer together. When you have an answer, when we come together after chanting this together, we're going to have a moment for some silent reflection, and we're going to put a link. I can actually do that now. We're going to put a link in the chat box so that you can offer some ideas about here are the special traits or lessons that you have received from your family members, and in real time, we're actually going to have a word cloud come up, and we'll see as a community all of the lessons that we've received from our family members. If you look in the chat box, here is the link so that you can offer those special lessons and traits. We will join together now in the chanting of our Amidah. Ya la 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 la, 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 ya la 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 la. Adonai sefatai tiftach Adonai, open up my lips, that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu ve'Elohei avoteinu ve'imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, ve'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, ve'Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor ve'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, ve'Konei Hakol, וזוכר חסדי אבות ואימהות, ומביא גאולה לבני בניהם, למען שמו באהבה. זוכרנו לחיים, מלך חפץ בחיים, וכותבנו בספר החיים, למענך אלוהים חיים, למענך, למענך, למענך אלוהים חיים, למענך, למענך, למענך אלוהים חיים. מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן, ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם בעזרת שרה. אמן. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיי הכל אתה, רב להושיע. And so friends, at this time, I'm now going to share the word cloud. Please feel free to enter it, to click on the link in the text box, and we will see as we all put our answers in for those special traits and lessons. Maybe just take 10 more seconds to add those answers. Wonderful. You can go ahead and continue to put some in if you'd like, but we'll just take a second and take a look as a community and see what are some of those most important lessons or traits that we've gotten from our family. And the great thing about this word cloud is it makes larger those that more than one person have shared. And I don't know about you, the one that's popping out to me, or the two that are popping out to me, are patience and love. That those are the central things that we feel that we have been given from our family members. We also have generosity of giving to people who have. We learned sharing. Even more, forgiveness, compassion, just to call out a few. So we'll save this picture so that we can have it for future reference. But just a little extra thought to continue into the holiday with is for us to take these traits and lessons that we have received from our family members and think about how we might then pass on our own special traits to the rest of the people in our life, our friends and our family and the rest, and even those that we don't know. So thanks so much for participating in this word cloud, and excited to share this with you all.
Say shalom bimroma, uyase shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'imru,
Amen. Get those peace signs ready. 2, 3, 4. Yase shalom, yase shalom, shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, yase shalom, yase shalom, shalom aleinu, ve'al kol yoshvei tevel.
Okay, so I have a wonderful story for you all this evening. It's one of my favorites, and I think a favorite among the clergy as well. So I'm really excited to share it with you. I'm going to share my screen here because there are pictures. So if you're not close to the screen, you might want to get close to the screen just so you can see. This is our Yom Kippur story for this evening, and we will, I'll say a brief word about it afterwards, but in a lot of ways I do think that it speaks for itself. So get comfy, and here we go. It's called The Hardest Word. A long, long time ago, the world had many large and fabulous creatures. One of those creatures was a gigantic yellow bird with dark red wings and a purple forehead. He was called the Ziz. I need to move the people around. That's interesting. Okay. The Ziz was so huge that when he spread out his wings, he blocked the sun as if he were a dark rain cloud. Every time he flew over a town, all the mothers would call to their children, "Come inside quickly before it rains." This made the big Ziz sad. He loved children and didn't want to spoil their playtime. So the Ziz started flying around at night when no one would notice that he made the sky dark with his gigantic wings. That worked fine for a while. Then one night the big Ziz flew too high and he bumped into a star. Sizzle, snap, bang! The star fell out of the sky and down to earth. It burned a big hole in the ground. The next morning when the Ziz saw the big hole, he was worried. What can I do to cover this hole, he asked himself. He thought about it for a while and came up with an idea. He stretched out his huge wings and went back up into the sky. This time, he knocked down a cloud. Plop, The cloud was full of rain and it filled the big hole with water. Now, the big hole was a lovely pond, perfect for swimming. All the children came running to the pond, screaming with delight. It was a hot, sunny day, and they had a wonderful time splashing and playing in the water. That mistake is all fixed. The Ziz smiled. One day, however, the Ziz made a mistake he could not fix. It was the week before Yom Kippur. He was flying along, not watching where he was going, and he flew smack into the tallest pine tree in the world. Boom! The tree fell over and knocked over another tree. That tree knocked down another tree, and that tree fell on the vegetable garden behind the synagogue. Smash! Squash! Oops. Oh no, the Ziz covered his eyes with his big wings. Not the vegetable garden. It belongs to the children. The Ziz uncovered his eyes to look at the damage. The tomatoes, the corn, the pumpkins, the beans, the gourds, the squash, all the vegetables the children had worked so hard to plant were smashed to bits. I can't knock down a cloud and fix this, the Ziz cried. The Ziz flew home and sat in his own garden to think. He had watched the children plant their vegetable garden. Every year they harvested the fruits to decorate their sukkah. What would the children do this year? The Ziz spread out his big wings and flew off to have a chat with God. The Ziz had a special place where he liked to talk to God. It was Mount Sinai. The Ziz was so huge that when he stood on Mount Sinai, his purple feathered head reached right up to heaven. What have you done this time? God asked as soon as he saw the Ziz. This was not the first time the Ziz had come to Mount Sinai after making a mistake. I knocked over a big tree. It knocked over another tree. That tree smashed a vegetable garden. The children's garden? God questioned. Yes, the Ziz admitted, hanging his head. That's a problem, God said. I can't knock down a cloud and make this better. No, you can't, God agreed. What should I do? I want you to do something for me, God said. Anything, the Ziz promised. I want you to search the earth and bring back the hardest word. The hardest word? The Ziz questioned. Yes, God answered. Now go. The Ziz stretched his big wings and went off to search. He flew over mountains, he flew over trees, he flew over valleys, he flew over seas. Flap, flap, I'm the biggest bird. Flap, flap, searching for the hardest word. After searching the whole day, the Ziz stopped to rest at the edge of a forest. In a little house nearby, he heard a mother and child arguing. I don't want to go to bed, the little boy said. You need your rest, the mother said. I'm not tired, the little boy cried. Good night, the mother said firmly, closing the door. That's it! Ziz flapped his wings. The hardest word! I found it! Ziz flew as fast as he could to Mount Sinai. With great excitement, he put his bird feet down on the top and poked his purple feathered head up into heaven. I found it! I found the hardest word! What is it? God asked. It's good night. Every child hates that word. Ziz did a dance right on top of Mount Sinai. He loved being right. Good night is a hard word for children, God agreed. I knew it, Ziz danced. But there is another word, even harder, God said. There is? Ziz slumped over, disappointed. There is, God declared. Go and find it. So the Ziz spread out his mighty wings and went off to search. He flew over mountains, he flew over trees, he flew over valleys, he flew over seas. Flap, flap, I'm the biggest bird. Flap, flap, searching for the hardest word. After searching all day, Ziz stopped at a big feast on the grounds of a castle. He listened. With so many people talking, he felt sure someone would say the hardest word. I'm hungry, a little girl said to her mother. May I have some pescetti, please? The mother smiled. Oh, you want spaghetti. That's it, Ziz realized. I've got it now. He spread out his great big wings and flew back to Mount Sinai. He planted his bird feet on the mountaintop and poked his purple feathered head into heaven. I know the hardest word, he sang. What is it? God asked. It's spaghetti. Ziz hopped up and down on one foot. Standing still was hard, especially when he was excited. Spaghetti is a hard word to say, God agreed. Didn't I tell you? Ziz hopped some more. But there is another word, even harder, God said. There is. Ziz slumped over, disappointed. There is, God declared. Go out and find it. The Ziz stretched his big wings and went back out to search. He flew over mountains, he flew over trees, he flew over valleys, he flew over seas. Flap, flap, I'm the biggest bird. Flap, flap, searching for the hardest word. The Ziz searched for 3 more days. He brought back lots of words to Mount Sinai. Words like rock, rhinoceros, ridiculous, and Rumpelstiltskin. Each time, God sent the Ziz back out to find another word. By the evening of Yom Kippur, the Ziz had brought over 100 words to Mount Sinai. God had not accepted any of them. The Ziz was discouraged. He had tried and tried. He flew back to Mount Sinai to have one more discussion with God. What word did you bring this time? God asked. No word, the Ziz said quietly. No word? God asked. No, the Ziz said sadly. I've come to say I'm sorry. I can't find the hardest word. You can't? God asked. No, the Ziz shook his head. I'm sorry. You're sorry? God asked. Yes, Zid nodded his big purple head. I'm sorry. Good job, God said. You found the hardest word. I did? Now the Ziz was confused. Yes, God said, the hardest word is sorry. While all the words you brought me were hard, sorry is the hardest. I always say I'm sorry on Yom Kippur, the Ziz said. Well, you should say it other times too, God answered. Like when I smashed the garden, Ziz asked. That's right, God said. The Ziz thanked God and pulled his purple feathered head out of heaven. Then he spread out his great big wings and flew back to the children's garden. On the way, he stopped at his own garden and gathered a big basket of fruits and vegetables for the children. It was time to say the hardest word. The end. So one of the reasons that I love this story so much is because it embodies something that's really hard to talk about. It's really hard to say we're sorry to the people who we love. And there are lots of different kinds of hard. And that's what the Ziz kept bringing to God, right? First, it was a word that was kind of hard to hear and nobody likes hearing, but it's okay. And then there was a word that was hard to say, which is a different kind of hard. And the word that ended up being truly the hardest is a word that forces us to really say it from the heart, that we have to really, truly mean it when we say it. And so I know that still today I struggle with saying I'm sorry when I've done things that are wrong. And I think many kids and adults really, really struggle with this. So every year we have a specific day where we are supposed to work on this, but I hope that we will work on this throughout the year because just like God said, it's not only, we don't only say I'm sorry on Yom Kippur. There are many, many other times when it's good to say it too. So I hope that you will all take that with you into Yom Kippur and into this next year.
Friends, at this time, we're going to take a moment to offer a prayer for healing for our community, for those who we're holding in our hearts. If there's someone that you're thinking of right now who could use just knowing that you're thinking about them and just a little extra prayer, encourage you to say that name aloud with those who are around you. If you would like to, you can also put that name in the chat box, and we will sing together the words of Misha Berach.
Misha Berach Avotenu Mekor HaBracha Leimotenu bless the ones before us. Help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Mi shebeirach imotenu mekor habracha lavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen.
Maybe you've heard it said before that the Jewish people are the people of the book. And because we are a people who loves books, we're also a people who loves wordplay. And one of the favorite games that the writers of all of our many prayer books ever played is the game of finding a different thing for every letter of the alphabet, depending on what prayer it is that we're saying. So, for example, in the morning, when we say our prayer that gives thanks for all the wonders of creation, there's a part of that prayer that lists alphabetically A through Z, all the amazing things in nature and science that our ancient rabbis thought was amazing. So they might have written, if I were writing it, I might have written like apples, bananas, carrots, dogs, elephants, frankfurters. That's actually not a natural thing, but I think they're wonderful anyway. On Yom Kippur, we play a different kind of word game, not alphabetizing all the amazing things in nature that we appreciate, but rather alphabetizing all of the things that we've done wrong in the past year and that we want to do better in the year that is to come. So please join with me as we acknowledge now some of the things we've done from A to Z that have made last year less good than it could have been, and as we look forward to trying to do better in the year that is to come. We have all made mistakes. Together, we confess that we are arrogant, brutal, careless, destructive, egocentric, false, greedy, heartless, irresponsible, and joyless. Our shortcomings are an alphabet of woe.
Ay, 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 ay. Ashamnu, Asham, Bagadnu,
Baganu,
Gazalnu,
Gazanu,
Dibarnu Dofi.
Dibarnu Dofi.
Ay, 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 ay. Hevinu,
Evinu,
Vehirshanu,
Vehirshanu,
Zadnu,
Zanu,
Hamasnu,
Hamasnu,
Tafalnu Sheker.
Tafanu Sheker.
Ay, 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 ay.
We invite you now to play the same word game, not thinking about things we've done wrong in the past year, but rather things we want to do better in the year to come. If you have suggestions A through Z of things you'd like to improve, please feel free to share them with us in the chat. And let me offer a couple of my own just to help move us along. I hope in this next year that we all might be more adventurous, more brave, more caring, more determined, more eager, that we might be friendlier than we've been in the past year, that we might learn to be giving. And we encourage you to continue all the way through Z after our service has concluded.
We had in our prayer book, we have many different ways of thinking about God. Depending on whatever we might need in a given moment, depending on what we're thinking about or what we might be afraid of. On Yom Kippur, we might be feeling hopeful or maybe even scared and nervous about what might happen in the new year. We might feel regret about things that we did or didn't do in the past year. And so, since Yom Kippur can be a time filled with lots of mixed emotions, on this day, the writers of our prayer book described God as Avinu Malkeinu, our parent and our ruler, a God who loves us as a unique person and knows each of us better than anyone might, as well as a God that cares for the entire community or even a country. Avinu Malkeinu reminds us that on Yom Kippur, we face our own personal challenges, yet we don't face them alone. We are part of a community that wants to help us succeed. So these words help us to pray to overcome our own challenges and those of our community. We'll sing these words, Avinu Malkeinu, together.
Avinu Malkeinu, Avneinu Va'aneinu, Avinu Malkeinu, Choneinu Va'aneinu, Ki ein banu masim, Aseh imanu, Tzedakah v'chesed, Aseh imanu, Tzedakah v'chesed ve'hoshienu, Avinu Malkeinu, Avinu Malkeinu.
Our concluding prayers begin on the screen in front of us. Aleinu l'shabeach la'adon ha'kol, la'tet gedula le'otzer breshit, shelo asanu kigoye ha'aratzot, velo samanu kemishpachot ha'adama, shelo sam chelkenu kahem, vegoralenu kechol hamonam. Va'anachnu korim, umishtachavim, umodim, Lifnei melech malchei hamelachim, hakadosh baruch hu. V'ne'emar v'haya Adonai lemelech al kol haaretz. Bayom hahu, yeh Adonai echad, u'shemo echad. We take a moment at the end of every Jewish prayer service to remember people whom we have loved and lost. And so I'd ask that if you're in one of our traditional periods of Jewish mourning, so that is if you've laid to rest a loved one within the past year, or if this season marks the Yartzeit, the anniversary of your loved one's death, that you please feel invited to rise at this time and to say that person's name aloud, or to draw into your mind's eye an image of that person or a favorite memory. As we offer now as one community these words of the Mourner's Kaddish, which give thanks to God for the gift of life. We say, Yit Gadal v'Yit Kadash Shemei Rabbah, Be'alma Divrach Yirutei v'Yomlich Malchutei, B'chayechon uv'Yomechon uv'chayei d'chol Beit Yisrael, Ba'agala uv'Yizman Kariv v'Imru Amen. Yehei Shmei Rabbah Mevarach le'olam u'lamei almaya, Yit Barach v'Yishtabach v'Yit Pa'ar v'Yit Romam v'Yit Naseh, V'yit hadar, v'yit ale, v'yit halal, shemei dekudsha brichu. Le'ela u'le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, ta'amiran bi'alma v'imru amen. Yehi shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, v'imru amen. Osei shalom bimromav, hu ya'asei shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, v'imru amen.
As we live our days, these are the ways we remember. We remember as we live our days, these are we remember.
So before we conclude, we'd like to offer a few announcements and say that our Yom Kippur observance continues throughout the day tomorrow. Actually, continues this evening. If you're a grown-up who's watching along with a child right now, you're invited with young people as well to join us for our main sanctuary service, which will be streaming on our Brand Live site beginning at 7 p.m. So please join us on Brand Live to see our adult-oriented Kol Nidre service via Brand Live this evening. Services continue tomorrow morning with our tot service for youngest learners at 9 a.m., with a youth service at 10 a.m., and then with the main sanctuary service again on Brand Live at 11. Please check our website to make sure you've got the right Zoom addresses for each of those different services for the tot and for the youth. The main sanctuary will take place on Brand Live. And then there are afternoon services throughout the day. We hope you will join us for many wonderful times to engage, to pray, and to remember people who we have loved and lost. And we especially hope that you might join us tomorrow evening at 7 p.m. via Zoom for a special Havdalah ceremony where we'll mark the end of this Day of Atonement and bring ourselves fully into 5781, the beginnings of this new Jewish year. That's tomorrow evening at 7 p.m. Havdalah via Zoom. Please check our website and our electronic communications to make sure you've got the right link for that event. If you are someone who is fasting this Yom Kippur, who's refraining from food and drink, we ask you to please do so safely, remembering that Jewish tradition always places health and life above any ritual observance. So please make sure that if you're fasting, you're only doing so if it is medically safe for you to do so. And let us wish you all these parting words. We say, Gamar Chatima Tova. May the new year that's beginning of 5781 be one that is better than the one that has just ended of 5780. And may you and all the people that you love and care about be inscribed for a good year, a sweet year, a year of blessing, and importantly, a year of life.